Hello and welcome to Frank's School. This is Suzanne. I invited her to class today. She'll probably be trouble because she probably won't stay out of the camera. I may have to put her down. Down on the floor. Hi, kitty. But she comes in here sometimes too. This is the alternate start to the third year with the third video. Third day, first video. I'm showing the Taming of the Shrew. By the other count, it would be the 45th day. Now, I'll confess to being a little bit spaced out with Shakespeare, with school, and with Shakespeare at the moment. And I think that I can relate to the kids. It's getting better. Coming from the outside, coming from summertime, all those projects, all that work, and now to be thinking about Shakespeare. But it's beginning to work for me. When I have kids watch this, or when I did, I tested them. I told them they were going to be held responsible for watching it. I didn't. I tested so easy. As a matter of fact, my whole class was so easy. I wanted it that way. I made it that way. But I had a strategy with what I was doing. I wanted the kids paying attention, and I wanted them enjoying it and thinking as they watched the Taming of the Shrew. But I really wanted them to enjoy it. Shakespeare, for me, is meant to be enjoyed, not, you don't use him to beat kids. Anyway, what I would do is I would quote lines, and I would say, now who said this? And if they could say correctly, well, then they got that point. That's all they had to do. I quoted the line, all they had to do was say which character spoke that. And I would have the names of the characters on the board. Really easy. And I also would practice. I would say, now after the viewing that you did yesterday, for example, I would say, which character said this? Well, first of all, I have an old test. This was all the way back in 1992. But I kept the test pretty much the same. I'd say, well, what's the name of the play? I wouldn't have that on the board, I think I might have said, well, who wrote it? And then, who said this? Oh, good sister, wrong me not, to make a bondmaid a slave of me. Well, the answer is Bianca. It's one of the sisters, obviously. And which character said this? Why dost thou wrong her that did ne'er wrong thee? When did she cross thee with a bitter word? This is Baptista speaking to Kate. Why are you picking on Kate? And then who said this? Believe me, sister, of all the men alive, I never yet beheld that special face which I could fancy more than any other. That's Bianca. Which character said, nay, now I see she is your treasure. She must have a husband. I must dance barefoot on her wedding day. That was Kate. And I think she said shortly after that, I'll go and weep and seek. I can't remember the other one. I was glad I found this. But if you were working with your child in a homeschooling situation or a class, pick speeches that you think are memorable or that you like. Now, by doing this, they heard it in the play. They heard me say it. And then they would hear it again in the test, and I'd review before the test. So what I was doing was making sure they heard those Shakespearean quotes a lot, and whether they wanted to or not, they might start actually memorizing them. I wanted that. I tried to pick quotes that, obviously that were well known, if I could. You might, if you go on viewing the next part, you might keep that in mind and then see how you could do with that. A live classroom is so much better than doing it this way. But two people together, a teacher and a student, or two students together, could be just about as good. I miss that live classroom. It was work. You had to deal with the fact that so many kids didn't want to be there or wanted to cause trouble. But it was so lively, and you got so much feedback. As a matter of fact, I think I'll remember to say something right here. related to that. Now, this is a men's view. This is the taming of the shrew. And at one point, well, it's going to get worse, actually. All these men are looking up there while Petruchio has been really rough with Kate. And, I could so easily see how women at a certain point would begin to think, this isn't right, this isn't fair, that's not right. This was made in the 60s, and, that was the time where women's liberation, women's lib was coming on strong. And I could so easily imagine that there would be women that would really hate this play and the movie. But by the same token, I have known many women, actually, that love this play. It surprised me. There was a woman that sat in my classroom 2 or 3 years as an assistant, and she watched a play of a married woman, and she said, of all the stuff I taught, she loved this play. And I think I said, why? The man is, why? I just like it. Well, we get to the end, see what you think. But that was a woman speaking. Now, what I'm going to ask you to see now, it's very, very lively, and the wordplay is fast, and some of it you would have to have notes. She says at one point to him, "I knew at the first you were a movable." Well, that's an old-fashioned word for furniture. So you're nothing but a piece of furniture, I guess. And he says, "Why? What's a movable?" And she says, "A stool." Well, and kicks a stool out from under him. There's another kind of stool, and I just barely touched this because I don't want to gross anybody out, but for the really sharp students, or the ones that can figure out Shakespeare's body and how clever he was and how ready the audience was to catch something like that, I would give them enough information that they could figure out that there was a kind of stool that could be moved, but then I would leave it. And there's another spot in here where the wordplay goes on, and they talk about tongue, and a wasp that's bear its sting. That's the part, and tail, a tale that you tell with your tongue. But there's a pun there. There's a pun there, and I usually hit fast forward across that, just on the chance that there's some kid might get that. I wouldn't want to talk about that. That's body, absolutely. Shakespeare's body, absolutely. But for the most part, kids wouldn't get it anyway. But it's there. And I guess the one other thing I was going to say was, what I want you to watch. I want you to watch the part, and this is very lively. I mean, there's no way you couldn't catch your students with this part. Starting from the speech where Petruchio explains his strategy. What's he going to do? And I the next day, I'll talk about that. And I'll ask the kids now, what is his strategy? What's he going to do? And I'll quote that speech, part of it. From that point, then he goes in and sees her, and they have their first meeting. All kinds of wordplay on the word Kate, and all of which you could see easily if you if you just got a script or the website. What is it? shakespeare.mit.edu or something like that. If you don't want to go buy a script, all the words are there. There, I'll even show you the Isbin, if you just on the chance that you would want to get one of these. But it's so lively. Zeffirelli's film direction, I think he's a great film director. Of course, he spends a fortune on costumes and set, but it is so lively and so much fun to watch. And so I would go through that to the point where he says to her, "Kiss me, Kate. We will be married o Sunday." I think that's where I would stop. He says he's going to go off to Venice to get clothing for the wedding day. All right, the one other thing I was going to say was, I talk about this live classroom situation. At the end of that, you see Kate sitting there. The music changes and softens, and she's not screaming and stuff. And I think I remember I've had one or two students, I think girls, say to me, does she like him? Is she beginning to like him? And I say, no, she hates him. She's scheming. She's got a plan. She knows what she's going to do. She is not tame. But I think it's kind of cute that some of the kids are already thinking, does she like this guy? All right, well, I certainly hope you find a way to watch it. And so I'm asking you to watch about 10 minutes of it today. See you next time.